HP, I need answers. I've spent the last couple of weeks trying to fix a problem with my HP PC over the phone and via email with your representatives. To their credit, they have been absolutely wonderful. They've helped me all they can, but we came to the conclusion that there is an underlying problem here that, personally, I find a little bit worrying. This affects a lot of people and is something that I think should not be happening, and I need answers as to why it is happening. This video is just going to be me sat here talking to the camera, and there's going to be basically no visuals. So feel free to jump off to another tab and just keep this running in the background to listen to what I have to say. But before you do that, please do share this on your social media pages with friends, family, and even @ing HP on their social media pages. Because I want to know an answer as to why this is happening. And to be honest with you, I really don't think it should be. Hello everybody, my name is Robert and this is Review Clue. Let's roll the clocks back about 10 or 11 months ago when I bought a small form factor HP PC from eBay. Now, I know what you're thinking, you bought this thing from eBay, that's your own fault. But that's not the case. I bought this as a new computer with a manufacturer's warranty. This didn't come with Windows 10 out of the box, it came with a version of FreeDOS. And that is really limiting for anyone wanting to use a personal computer. But I thought that was fine. I have Windows 10 keys and licenses coming out of my ears. So I bought the computer, installed Windows 10, and all was working fine, if a little slowly. That was mainly because it was an Intel Celeron processor. I went ahead and upgraded that to an i5, I just swapped out the CPUs and everything worked as I expected. This computer actually served me fine for about 7 months. I used it as a Plex media server and never had any issues. Then it came to the point where Windows announced Windows 11, and with that a few prerequisites of how to run it. For example, needing a trusted platform module chip or a TPM chip. Thankfully, my computer actually did have one of these, and it was a TPM 2.0 compatible chip. How do I know this? Because I was running the Insider's build. I went ahead and went to the Microsoft website and tried installing that, and it warned me that, hey, your computer doesn't have this chip enabled. So, I went into the BIOS and just enabled it. That was fine. It showed up as it should, it allowed me to enable it and set it up correctly. This wasn't the issue. I went ahead and ran that Windows 11 Insiders build for a couple of months, and you can see my videos about it up there or in the description down below. And then it came to maybe a month or two before the official release of Windows 11, and that's when I started noticing something funny. No longer did my computer see that I had a TPM chip. It simply just disappeared. I thought, okay, this is weird. I went into my BIOS thinking maybe an update had just disabled it again. Went through all of the different tabs and simply couldn't find the trusted platform module settings anywhere. It's literally like it had disappeared off of the face of the earth. Okay, I thought, maybe I need to update my BIOS. So I went online, found the BIOS version that was one up from where I was, downloaded it, and it just wouldn't install. It told me that my previous version of the BIOS was actually newer than the one I was trying to install. Version 23 was apparently lower than version 22. Now, I'm no scientist or mathematician, but I believe 23 comes after 22. Okay, I thought, that's fine. I'll just force it to do that install. So I went into the BIOS and tried to force that update. This time, again, it failed, telling me that my hardware was simply incompatible. This was getting weird. So I called up HP support, and the lovely guys and girls over at HP support were really useful. They talked me through quite a few settings that we could potentially try. For example, resetting the CMOS, which we did, nothing changed. These TPM settings simply do not exist anymore in the BIOS or within Windows. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. A feature that was working perfectly fine and I had been using for a couple of months up to this point has simply disappeared and stopped working on my system. How do I know that this has stopped working and has just been disabled? Well, they asked me to collect some logs. So I used HP's system to collect those logs, and I thought to myself, I'll have a sift through them myself and see what I can find. Went into the BIOS logs, scrolled all the way down to the TPM settings, and noticed that the feature had been disabled. I hadn't disabled it. Why would I? It's required for me to actually be able to run Windows 11 and create the content for you guys surrounding it. Okay, so they went away and they spoke to their higher-ups over at HP and came back to me a couple of weeks later with the rather worrying message, and that was that the TPM support had been disabled and they hadn't promised that it was going to work. I have one major issue with this, and that is this was something that was working perfectly fine for upwards of 8 or 9 months before this Windows 11 update. But now, just as it's a requirement to get the new shiny operating system that a TPM chip be available, it is suddenly now not available and has been physically disabled on my device. That just seems fishy to me. Maybe that's just me, but it almost feels like HP know that we need this chip. And they know that simply disabling it and getting people to buy the newer device just to get that operating system is the way forwards. Now, I spoke to the rep, and the rep explained to me that actually this has happened on more than one occasion, particularly with this HP small form factor PC. There have been a lot of accounts of people trying to upgrade to Windows 11 and the TPM chip simply disappearing. This is not on. This is a feature I have been using and want to continue to use for the foreseeable future. I paid for this feature, as with everything else that the device could do. This is almost like telling me that I buy a new car and then a couple of months down the line, the brakes are turned off automatically. This would never happen in any other industry, but it appears to be happening here. And the excuse that I got is that they never promised that this would work on a Windows 10 build. Because I bought this system with OpenDOS to start with, there is no way that they can say that the TPM chip would work. This is an absolute joke and a cop-out of an answer for one reason, and that is I'd been using this chip all the way up to a couple of months before its required launch for Windows 11. So HP, answer me this. Why was this TPM chip suddenly disabled on more than just my device, many other HP devices? It smells a little fishy to me that all of a sudden this required feature stops working on almost all systems and there is no way for us to update our BIOS, or in my case update my BIOS, to change this or adapt to this new TPM chip. So HP, riddle me this. How on earth are you able to just disable this one particular feature that is actually incredibly important for many people, especially in a business background? How are you just able to disable this and then claim that you never expected it to work in the first place? Because it was working, and this should not be a problem. No amount of software that I change, that I install onto this, should affect that TPM chip. So I want answers. I need answers, because I still have this computer here that I've had to reset multiple times and I'm still stuck on Windows 10 without this chip. It's a joke, and quite frankly, it's actually angered me, because I know that it's not just me. This has happened with other machines as well and other people, and it almost seems like too much of a coincidence. I will happily update this video and take it down and give everyone else the answers if I can get the answers myself, rather than just being passed around and giving cop-out answers as to why this feature has been disabled. So as I said in the beginning, please do share this video around and make sure that HP see this on their social pages, because I think it is an incredibly important problem that needs addressing. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do get subscribed down below, leave a comment. Do you think I'm just being angry over nothing, or do you think that this is a problem and maybe or do you think that this is a problem and there's potentially some wrongdoing happening here on HP's part? Let me know. And of course, my name's been Robert, this has been Review Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.